Roughly a 10, 15-year period.
I met Vito early in the beginning of GAA. After the first 2 or 3 months, we both joined it. We became fast friends immediately. He lived a few blocks away from where the meetings were in a church on 9th Avenue. And we would all go to his house afterwards and watch movies, of course. Especially if they had Judy Garland. He was very happy about that. There were pictures
I wish
of her.
I'd been there.
In every room in the house, including the bathroom, there were pictures of Judy Garland. He developed into a special kind of activist because of his love of film. And he created these film nights at our headquarters, the firehouse. And people came and stayed overnight. I'm surprised we didn't hear the one famous line from there where they were showing Night of the Living Dead, and some lesbian in the back yelled out, "Save me a breast." But what we were learning from Vito was what it meant to be a gay audience, what it meant to see things through our own eyes without having to filter it or transfer it from the mainstream.
You are working with an extraordinary amount of material, like you have this incredible footage of Vito himself, and then all these clips from the Children's Hour, the killing of Sister George, and then interviews with Vito's colleagues and family. What was the process like of putting this all together?
Well, it was a very long process, of course. It was just hours and hours of footage. 59 interviews from all the loved ones who knew Vito. I always sort of felt we could make 10 movies about Vito Russo. We could make 20 movies about Vito Russo and all of this history.
We couldn't tell the entire story of the gay liberation movement from Stonewall to ACT UP, that we would have to take shortcuts, and if it didn't directly relate to Vito or his experience or something he personally saw through his own eyes, then it had to go. So there's always the DVD. If there are still DVDs in a year from now.
We would love to take your questions. How is this possible that I do not see any hands up?
I see a hand like Mr. Kramer.
Oh, Mr. Kramer.
There's a wonderful thing called fair use now. And a lot of documentary filmmakers are employing this. It's part of copyright law. We did license much of the footage that's there, but the studio film clips, which are prohibitively expensive, as Rob and Jeffrey can attest to from the Cellular Closet, there's been a change in attitude toward clearance, and there are legal firms that specialize in assisting documentary filmmakers to employ short excerpts of copyrighted material, which is perfectly legal in documentaries like this. So we're very, very grateful for Michael Donaldson, who's the lawyer who is researching. It's really a great it's changed everything. It really has. We couldn't have made this. I mean, Rob and Jeffrey can attest to it. Every one of their clips from the Cellular Closet had to be licensed through the studios. Every single actor had to be cleared. I mean, it was kind of a nightmare, right? So we didn't have to deal with a lot of that. So things have gotten better for documentaries like this.
Other questions? Yes, way in the back.
Arthur Bell, the Village Voice columnist, wrote about gays in Hollywood also, and he was Vito's best friend. He helped start the movement against the shooting of Cruising. Could you talk about Arthur's role and his friendship with Vito?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, we have you, Brandon. We had a lot of people talking about Arthur Bell. Arthur Bell was Arthur Evans's partner, and they were early members, first of Gay Liberation Front, I think, and then Gay Actors Alliance. I mean, this is just one of those things. I mean, the whole story of Cruising, that's something I assumed we would have in here. You know, and Vito was not for censorship. I mean, Cruising was I don't know how many people have seen it, but it was a film made in '79 that was set in the whole leather underground world. It was about a killer in this world, and the gay community, Arthur Bell in particular, who was writing the Bell's Tales column for the Village Voice, found out about the movie, and they decided that they were going to do everything they could to make it as difficult as possible for that crew to shoot the movie, because they thought it was a negative portrayal. But Vito sort of stood on the sidelines of that one. You can attest to that. He didn't believe that they should stop anyone from making a film, that they should, when it comes out, scream and yell and respond to it in a responsible way, but not to stop anyone from making a film, because he felt our enemies would basically do the same thing to us. So it's a very interesting story, and again, just for runtime, we weren't able to include that.
So,
May I just say there were so many aspects and people that were in Vito's life that maybe were not portrayed in the movie, but then they should read Michael's book.
That's right.
Because it's
All in Michael's book.
and he does cover much more people and events that were just probably too lengthy to put in here.
Well, I was doing 300 pages, not 90 minutes, so that's...
Everyone should read this book. I love the book. It was just a happy coincidence that you had started working on the book while we were starting to work on the film. So go buy it. It's in bookstores now.
Well, thank you for the plug. If I could, one thing that is kind of lost to history now, and it's a shame, is that Vito and Arthur did a column together called The Russo-Bell Connection, which was done for the New York Native in 1981, basically almost the whole year of 1981. And there had been some talk of collecting those into a book if it had lasted, and it's a tragedy that it didn't happen, because it's this brilliant commentary of these two on the phone every week, gossiping about New York. But it's more than just gossip. I mean, it's a lot of film talk, and it's a lot of real gay history of New York City. And when you read it now, it's this perfect cross-section, it's this perfect overview of what was going on in gay Manhattan at that time. So I talk about it a lot in my book, and it's also at New York Public Library. If you get a chance to read it, you really should.
You can attest to that.
Yes.
You have to read the book.
You got to read the book.
There's no spoilers here.
They were also shooting Can't Stop the Music with the Village People at the same time, and the protesters they accidentally protested Nancy Walker instead of Cruiser. It's true.
Yes, way in the back. I think, is that Jim?
Yes.
Yes, it is Jim.
You know, I just sit here and pick apart this and that about the discipline to be told, and it's not important. First of all, most of us alive are still in this room, and you will fight amongst ourselves. But what your film did, and what your book did, was show the Vito and all his love, and he loved all of us. And that gay spirit is what young people will see coming through this film. So I thank you, Jeffrey.
Well, there's really not much more to add to that. I thank you all very much for being here, for your fantastic film. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.